Well, hello again, everybody. It's me, Crystal, from Heart Musings with Crystal. Sorry for the lapse in videos. It's been a very interesting couple weeks. But anywho, so for today, I decided to do a quick create with me. I recently signed up to do a postcard exchange on the Patreon group for Courtney Little Raven Ink, and I decided to make some postcards. Now, I've done this once before, and I sent out, I think, like 30 at one time. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys my process. And so the first thing we're going to need is the base. So the thing that you actually need to construct your card on. So I have a couple of options here. The first one is index cards. So I have regular lined ones and I have blank ones. They're roughly around the size of the larger Project Life cards. I don't really know the exact dimensions, but it works. It's a very cheap alternative to having any of the other options. Also, I'm doing a voiceover, so if my hands don't match, sorry in advance. Alright, so the next thing that you could use are blank Project Life cards. I bought a bunch of these when they were on clearance at Joann's, so they're really neat to collage on top of because it's just gridded and it's like a cardstock material, so it's got a nice sturdy backing. The other alternative, if you are a paper crafter, you have heard of Project Life. I personally have never actually done Project Life, but I do own a crap ton of their journaling cards. So I picked out a couple of my least favorite designs, and I'm going to repurpose them and use them to do my postcard. Now, I never mail out the originals, so it doesn't really matter what the back of the card looks like. It's all the same. As far as adhesive goes for this, you can use some gloss gel medium, Mod Podge, regular glue stick, whatever you have. I just had those lying around. And the other thing that I'm going to use is white gesso. So white gesso is just really good to help tone down the backgrounds. So I'm going to create a card with a loud background, and then I'm going to use that white gesso to kind of tone it down. Now that we have our base, we're going to go ahead and get our collage sheet papers to make our backgrounds. So for this, you could use magazine cutouts. You could use jelly prints. Here I have a bunch that I'm going through. You could also use lined notebook paper. I also tore up a lot of pages from a paper pad that I had from like Michael's, Joann's. And so I like to tear out a sheet of every pattern and just kind of keep pieces laying around to use for projects like this. I also have tissue paper from leftover like packages that I've gotten, pages from old books, a lot of my collage printables from Courtney Diaz, and I have a whole bunch left over from that Etsy store that I mentioned a couple videos back from the Art Doll video that I end up using. So it's pretty much anything you have on hand. Like I mentioned, like this is a really great scrap like user project because like you can literally put whatever you have in your paper bin and just like put it as a background. Now that we have all that stuff sorted, here comes the fun part. Literally all you have to do now is just tear up pieces of paper and put it on the page. So I try not to limit myself in texture. I like a lot of texture actually, so like I will grab like tissue paper, thicker paper, book paper, anything really. But I really like the way that it kind of like layers on top of itself. And it creates just like a really nice effect, I feel like. But anywho, so when choosing which pieces go where, I like to keep with the same color family. So like in the center, you can see how I have that pink tissue paper, and then I have in the corner, it's like a cherry printable. That's from February and June. We did a little scrap pack exchange, and so she sent me some of her stuff, and I thought it was really cute. But you see how like I played off of the red and the cherries to go with the pinks, and then the purple background of that cherry paper also goes with that like gradient purple in the left hand corner. So like I try to keep the colors kind of similar and kind of play off the pieces that I lay down. I feel like it makes it a lot easier to have your focal point really pop on the page when you have a similar toned background. Because otherwise you're just going to have like all these conflicting colors kind of like fighting for the viewer's attention. And yeah, I feel like it'll make your image get lost. So you want to make whatever you put as like your final layer just like stick out. So yeah, keep your backgrounds similar tones, color families and things. You really don't want to do like clashing colors for this. Also, super sorry for the lighting today. So, a couple of reasons why I haven't been filming is because I do have a craft room or a designated craft room in my house. I just like it's a hot mess, and so I got really frustrated and I decided to like tear it apart and redo the whole thing. So I haven't really had a space to create. And then, I was feeling really inspired to make this video and it was late at night, so I had to use a ring light. So yeah, the lighting isn't like my normal videos because I prefer to film in natural daylight. I do like to try and send out happy mail whenever I get the chance. For me, I really like the idea of snail mail. It's one of my favorite things. But I am like the worst pen pal. I am so sorry if you're watching this and you're one of my pen pals. Or like we started exchanging letters. Like I am the absolute worst at like keeping up with things, but I love the idea of it. So, yeah, sorry. I just get caught up in that life. One day turns to two, and then before you know it, it's been 4 months and you never sent back that reply. And then you have that awkward, do I send it late? Do I not? I don't know what to do here. So, yeah, story of my life there. But anywho, now that we have our backgrounds done, we get to pick our focal image. So focal image is just pretty much the main thing on your postcard. So I have, like I said, these are the printables left over from that art doll video that I did. I absolutely adore these things. Like I have been using them so much. But yeah, so here I have like just a stack that I had printed out and hadn't used yet. So I went through and picked out a couple images that I liked and heads, bodies, and all that stuff. So instead of just like sticking to one, style, I wanted to make it a little more quirky. So I pulled out some printables from Courtney Diaz and I decided to use a whole bunch of those too for my images. So I tried choosing bodies that were in action poses. So that just means like that they're doing something, as opposed to just being like stagnant images, I guess. Just because I feel like it gives my little creatures or people a little more like life to them. And I'm pulling out that big old sticker book that I'm still trying to get through. Yeah, I like this. The sticker book is growing on me. I will say that. Yeah, I almost went with the like beetle head for this kid because I thought it looked really, really weird. But I don't know. I feel like maybe it was a little too weird. So I don't end up going with this, but it was a definite contender for focal image for one of my postcards. So this kid is sitting, so I wanted to make sure that, or not make sure, but like I was trying to find something that he could sit on, and I found, I feel like, the most perfect image in here. So I ended up going with a little fox sticker. I realize it's like out of focus, or not out of focus, but like out of frame here. But yeah, so it's a little fox. And the like I've mentioned before, the only downside, or one of the downsides for the sticker book, is that thick border. So I have to cut all of that, to make it seem a little more realistic. So this card ended up being one of my favorite cards. It ended up being a little more neutral, vintage. It's not really an aesthetic that I particularly use in my own journal, but I really liked how this came together. I ended up making a very strong, I feel like, female character. So I put together this woman, and she's riding a fox, wearing, her head, she's going to be wearing some pilot goggles, like staring off into the sunset, and she just has this like empowered, like, I just feel a lot of strength radiating from this woman that I put together for this postcard. So when I was, trying to decide what to write, Be Fearless just seemed to work. Normally I would just like stamp it on here, but I felt like using my own handwriting. I have a very love hate relationship, mainly the hate side for my handwriting. I've never really written uh, well, I feel like. My really good friend, she has beautiful handwriting, like beautiful. Ever since we were kids too. Like it's just I don't know how she does it. But for me, like no matter how hard I try, like I just can't. I feel like my mind goes so fast that when I want to write things down, like I don't waste time and I just write. And so my handwriting oftentimes looks very sloppy and like haphazardly put together. But I'm slowly coming to terms with it. I'm slowly starting, to love it, and or try to love it, I should say. 'Cause it's not quite 100% love there. I spent all this time thinking like, give it time, it'll end up looking nice, just like slow down. But you know, I'm getting to that point where I'm just gonna accept it for what it is and just take it. So yes, so whoever gets this card, you're gonna have my handwriting on it and this really cool, strong woman on your postcard. These also would work as tip-ins. So even if you don't do postcards and snail mail, because I know like it's also kind of hard to find people to send mail to, because like the world is a scary place and I don't give out my address to people. So I'm very particular about who has access to that. And yeah, so I totally get it. You might want to be, might want to have a pen pal and send out some snail mail, but you're just feeling uncomfortable. Like, I totally get it. That's why I really love like Courtney Diaz's Patreon group, because it's just like you get a really strong sense of community there. So I feel safe to send and receive happy mail from all the wonderful people in that group. But yeah, so if you are, you're finding yourself in that demographic where you want to send out happy mail, but you just don't have people to send it to, and, or maybe you want to try this, but you don't have anyone in mind to send, like I said, to send it to. These also work great as tip-ins. You could totally like use them in your journal. They don't necessarily have to be postcards. So, back to the postcards. This one is a loud background that I covered with the white gesso. It's really wet, so I'm going to set that aside and start working on the third postcard. For this one, I already knew I wanted that mug to be one of the main parts of the front of the postcard. That mug is from Courtney Diaz. The little bear face is also from Courtney Diaz. So I really I wanted to use that for my postcard, and for the bear, it had a bear. Had a bear body attached originally, so it was a kind of blocky, and I had to shape the face that I wanted out of what I had left over for that little face. Shout out to sticker paper, man. It has made my life so much easier when it comes to like journaling and paper crafting. I've said it before and I will say it for several years. I feel like gluing things down is not my thing. It is not my forte. I am not good at it. I am 30 something years old and I still do not know how to properly work a glue stick without getting it all over myself. So, sticker paper is great. Like, I have all these pieces here, and instead of having to like waste my time gluing all the little nooks and crannies, all I have to do is peel off the sticker backing. So, I cannot rave about sticker paper enough. It is a godsend. It is great. It is forever a staple in my journaling kit, forever and ever. Like my other card, I had the really strong woman. This character made me think of a very sophisticated, refined person who likes tea. So I went and I wrote, or I stamped out time for tea. I kind of like tea, loose leaf tea, primarily, but I know a lot of people out there are really big tea drinkers. I'm more of a coffee girl myself. But yeah, so I decided to go with time for tea for this one, for all the tea drinkers out there. And because I got real, like, British England vibe from this bear character that I made. I don't know, I just went with it. Straight up feeling hard of the cards for these. And that was a Yu-Gi-Oh reference for all of you millennials out there who remember Yu-Gi-Oh. And that, my friends, is my bear person. This card is done and dusted. I mean, well, after I fix the little hat. But yeah, once I'm done with that, I'm going to move on to my last card that I'm working on camera with you. The gesso itself is dried. So as you can see, that original background is not as intense. The white gesso really helped scale back that color and give me a little bit, or give me the illusion of having a more uniformed background color. So I will say this now, my camera does die soon-ish here. So you're going to see like a lighting change. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to make this lady work on the card, but I'm not 100% feeling the body and the pose. So I don't know what it is yet. I mean, I do eventually come to it that I don't like the body very much. But I think the main problem is that she just blended too much with the background. So I'm trying to like bring some color back into the main image here. So you can see I completely, well, here my camera died. Starting over, I switched out the body and I switched out that colored eye. Colored eyes from Courtney Diaz. And yeah, I like it so much better now. I think just making those subtle differences just really helped change the vibe. I also used my Posca paint pens to give her cheek pops, like those pops of colors on her face. And I think, like I said, that also helped add a little more dimension to the character. This one had a little bit more going on in the background than the other ones. Yeah, so I think even though I added all that extra stuff, I still want a little bit more so she doesn't get lost. So that right there is another collage sheet element from Courtney Diaz. I gave a little scalloped border at the top, put her in the center, and voila. Well, kind of voila, because I still need to add a couple other things. Now, since I had already pulled out my Posca markers, I figured I would use them some more. Posca paint pens are really cool. Like, they go over a lot of surfaces. I don't know the full specifics, but I do like to use them when I'm working on lots of layers. So, like, for this image, the background itself has all the different pattern papers. I have some vellum on this one, and then that gesso. So the markers are great to go over all of that, which I'm going to do in a minute. So if you have them, I think they're great. If you don't have them, you can also use Sharpies, I think. They probably work the same. Because like I mentioned, I'm not too concerned about what the backs of these look like because I do photocopy them, so it really doesn't matter if anything shows through on the other side. I'm not from Austin, so this particular saying doesn't have any real meaning for me, but I just really like it. I ended up going with keep it weird just because I felt like this, out of the three that I've made today, this one ended up being like the quirkiest, I guess. So yeah, felt keep it weird works. And here I am writing the word weird down because I am starting from the end of my card and going forward. So I'm working backwards. I feel like when I don't do this, when I try to just like, stamp out a word in a limited space, I tend to kind of screw myself over with the space, and my letters either end up with too much space in the beginning and then all squished together at the end. So it helps to start from the end of your word and, like I said, work backwards. Be sure to write the word down first, helpful tip, and use that to help you with your stamping, because there have been quite a few times where I have misspelled something because I was doing this, and yeah. And I believe this is the final layer that I put onto this postcard. I'm adding on some little leaves and stuff there at the bottom because I originally wanted to put mushroom stickers, but I felt like the colors just kind of clashed too much, so I went with just regular old black leaves, and it worked. And so here we go. Here are the three that I made today on camera. Popping back in to kind of just recap the postcards that I've made. So I made these three on camera with you guys. This one's my favorite, the teacup one, and then this one here I used the white gesso on to help tone down the background. The only thing is it's starting to like curl up at the edges, so yeah, not a huge fan of that, but it is what it is. So I worked on these, and then earlier today I decided to make two more because why not? Giving me a grand total of 5 postcards to send out. Now when I make my postcards, I don't ever send out the original, and the reason I don't is because I do a lot of layering, and I'm not 100% sure how that would travel via the post office. So what I do from here is I will take the originals and then I will make a color copy on my printer. Now my printer does a really good job of doing regular prints because I can kind of edit how, how vibrant I want it to be. But when I do the just regular like copy or, copy print on the scanner itself, the images don't ever come out as vibrant, but I mean, it still works. So, and this is kind of what I mean. You can kind of see how like in the printed copy, it's a little more muted than the original, but it makes it easier to ship because it's a flat surface. I don't have to worry about things getting caught or torn off in the mail. So I made quite a few. So these are the scanned copies. These aren't the originals. There's the other one. Okay. So these are all scanned copies. Original copy. Original copy. Now this one got really washed out and when I scanned it, but I mean, it's still cute. Original copy, and did I already show this one? Copy and original. All right, so now that I have these, because they are copies, the back is blank. So to prep these for mailing, I took this stamp here I got from Hobby Lobby. And oh, this one I also got from Hobby Lobby. So I took these two stamps and a VersaFine ink in Olympia Green. And I set these up to be like a regular postcard. So here I have a postcard from a Flow magazine. So I did the same thing here where I just divided down the middle, have here for the address, and then I decorated with a little ephemera sticker that I made out of a carved stamp that I played around with not that long ago when I thought I would dabble in stamp carving. But yeah, so this is all ready and set. All that's left to do is to fill out the address, put my stamp. This is a space for my return address, and then a quick little message. And that is how I do, or how I make my postcards. If y'all have any questions, comments, or anything, feel free to leave them down below. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Have a good one.